I'm back. I am Alexi from Alexi Rose Reads, and I've decided to start a new challenge here today. So, about 2 weeks ago at this point, a coworker who also likes to read a lot sent me the reading the Reese's book club picks, and she sent me this lovely little several page thing to my email. So, and I was just like flipping through it, going, okay, like which ones have I read off of Reese's book club picks? And the answer is I've only read four, and they've been doing this every month since June of 2017. And I like the four for the most part. I like the four that I read. So I was like, why haven't I read more off of this list? So I decided that we would, just go through the list and start reading these books to see if I like them or not. And it'd really great if I could just like cross off every single book off of a list. So I've gone back to the 2017 picks. This vlog is going to consist of me reading the 2017 picks. So first we started with Eleanor, Elephant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. And I read this one on December 27th. I read the entire thing on one day at work. I just put my headphones in. I didn't have very many patients that day. I had like two all day. So I just like had my headphones in for the most of the day, and I listened to this book. And I did take a few notes because at this point it is the 29th. So I was like, I need to make sure I take notes so I can tell you guys how I felt about this one. Gonna be completely honest, we are gonna be giving this book 2 stars, and that is, we're gonna color in my little rating here. That is because, to be completely frank, I did not care about Eleanor's life. She was not entertaining. She wasn't very likable in my opinion. She seemed very snobbish to me, as well as very judgmental. Like, I'm gonna tell you, there's this like scene where she is getting waxed and she becomes very judgmental when they ask her if she wants like a Brazilian, a Hollywood. I can't remember what the other option is, but she says the Hollywood option, which apparently means we wax your entire pubic region. And she did not know that. And then proceeded to judge people who do that. And like, girl, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. Like, it's not gonna, like, do you? But she was so judgmental about it. And that was the first instance where, like, it really rubbed me the wrong way. Like, her just demeanor rubbed me the wrong way. And instantly I just didn't like her. And this wasn't very far into the book. This was maybe like less than 20% into the book, and I was so over it. She was also very judgmental about the other main character's hygiene, which, okay, maybe he's not hygienic, but like, maybe he has other stuff going on, and we can't judge him entirely. You don't know what's going on in his life, girl. Like, you don't even gotta deal with him most of the time. Leave it go. Who cares? It's not you. You don't gotta sit next to him all day, so why do you care? Do you? So she kind of just rubbed me the wrong way. She seemed very snobbish and rude and judgmental. So I didn't like her. And then like I said, I didn't care about her life. I just didn't care. She seems to have, she has issues with her mother, which, is all fine, like, in a book to have that, as a, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, as a plot line, as, like, what we're looking for resolution for, which is all fine. I'm glad she's in there. But she's also kind of judgmental about therapy, which, why are you in therapy if you are so judgmental about therapy and stuff, I don't know. I didn't get it. And then there was like a little bit of a romance subplot between her and the guy she didn't think was very hygienic, which was very weird to me because you're being very judgmental toward him. And I didn't care. I blatantly just didn't care what this girl was doing. Like, I pretty much only finished the book because I had my headphones in and was too lazy to reach over and grab my phone and stop the audio. So I just binged the entire thing, and here we are at 2 stars. So that was the June 2017 pick. For the July 2017 pick, they have the Alice Network by Kate Quinn. So I have started the Alice Network at this point. I am a roughly 70, let me check, 77% in. I have about 3.5 hours left of the audio, so I'm hoping to be able to finish this tomorrow. I started this immediately after I finished Eleanor Oliphant. Oh my gosh, I can't say that word. I'm sorry. So I started it right afterwards because I was like, you know what? My plan is just to work my way down this list. So I did start the Alice Network. It's going really well. This one instantly grabbed me. It's historical, and a lot of historical books are very hit or miss for me. I either love them or I'm like not into it. And this one's very intriguing. It's like World War II time, but we're also going back more towards World War One. And I'm a bit of a history nerd. I don't know if anyone knows that, but I'm kind of a history nerd. To the point when I was like little and they would ask you like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And when I stopped giving sarcastic answers because I didn't like that question, like, what do you want to be, an apple? Because this is a dumb question to be asking 5-year-olds. I'm sorry. I was that kid growing up. My answer through like elementary and like middle school was a history teacher. And then I realized I hated people and I don't like interacting with people. And I think if I had to teach, I am not a very patient person. If you don't understand what I'm explaining it as, I'm not going to explain it another way. That is just, I can't. I'm mostly with that, like with math. If you don't understand what I'm doing, like, I can't help you. This is the way I'm doing it, and this is just the way I understand. So that's the only way I'm explaining it. But yeah, I realize I don't like children very much. And realistically, I would be teaching children. And even if I did like college professor, I don't think I'd want to deal with 18 and 19-year-olds, which admittedly is a good chunk of college kids. I mean, I had a few older people in my college, but like, I ain't dealing with that. Like, even the guys who were in my history class, because I took a Latin American history class in college, he isn't paying attention. You're lucky we're friends, buddy. Otherwise, I want to give you the notes. Also, because you don't have your glasses on, I realized he couldn't see. I was like, you need to get glasses. But digression. So I am really enjoying it. Like, as I was saying, a bit of a history nerd, and one of the areas I've like extensively focused my spare time research on history-wise is right around World War II. Like, I've watched so many documentaries on World War II in specific. I've extensively researched this, but like my history interests are all over because I also research ancient Egypt excessively, and also the Titanic. Why, I don't know, but World War II is one of those hyperfixation in points in history that I get. So this one is like right up my alley, and I'm usually not into spy books, but this has quite a bit of spy espionage happening, and I'm kind of here for it. Like I said, usually it's like not interesting to me. Like even like movies with the spies, I'm like not that into it. But I'm really into this one so far. So, like I said, I'm 77% through. So, I mean, I will have more comprehensive idea of if I like this or not within the next 23%. So, I will be back then. So, I actually finished the Alice Network a few days ago, but I just needed some time to, like, think and reflect on it before I gave my official rating. I'm giving this one 4 stars. I really did enjoy this one. And like I was mentioning before, spy books are in general not my thing. Historicals are hit or miss, but this one was on it. And I did not know that Kate Quinn is the author of the Rose Network, I think it's called. I have the book. Of course, I don't know where anything is right now. So I'll just look it up on my iPad. I don't know where my phone is. But I know I have it on my Hoopla. But I didn't know she wrote this other book because that one has been on my radar. And I mean, I hadn't picked it up yet, but I know it was on, like, oh, that looks interesting. The Rose Code. Yes. That one looked interesting, like the synopsis. I mean, I like briefly read it at one point, and I don't typically do that. But what caught my name was, again, the World War part. So I was like, I think I saw it when I was watching The Crown, and I've only watched like the first two seasons of The Crown, and I watched it like when they aired. So it's been a little bit. And I think one of those books, that book was floating around closer to then, and I think that's when it became on my radar, and I was like, ooh, that sounds interesting. But I never picked it up. Like I never had it. I never even looked for it on Libby or Hoopla or anything. I didn't have access to it physically, so and at the time, I guess when I was doing that, I wasn't into audio. So I know I didn't have access to it, so I didn't look into it. But I'm really excited to get into that one, and the Alice Network is great. I mean, my little history nerd heart was loving the World War One, World War Two dual timeline we had going on. Like, I mean, I don't know what it is, man. World War. I don't want a World War Three. I mean, I know we're like always on the brink of it, but like World War One and Two, or just like where my brain like focuses on history, and then the other event is the Titanic, which happened kind of around that similar time, and then my brain jumps to Egypt. Very particular when King Tut was alive, but like I can go when Cleopatra was, or like Ramses the Great and stuff, but like I don't know, King Tut is like where my brain's like super hyper focused for some reason. Digression. But the next one we have on this list is The Lion Game by Ruth Ware. I do have this one checked out already. Oh my god, look, here's my phone. I was looking for that, guys. Sometimes the ADHD just hits a little hard. It's due in 2 weeks, so I'm obviously going to read it in 2 weeks. But I am currently reading several thrillers, so I seem to be in a very thrillery mood. I'm reading all these thrillers. Like I said, I'm reading The Overnight Guest, I'm reading The Last Party, and then The Lion Game is going to be another thriller, but I seem to be in a very thriller mood. And this, again, will either go very well, because I'll speak in a more of a thriller mood, or it will go very poorly, because I'll be done. Depends on how similar all the thrillers are, which I don't know because I don't read synopses. So, I will be back once I pick up The Lion Game. I have read another one from this list. I read August of 2017's pick, which is The Lion Game by Ruth Ware. So I did listen to the audio for this one. The audio is very good. So if you are going to read this, I do recommend the audio. I had a very enjoyable time with it. But, however, I did have some issues. It's just like a 3. I'm giving it a 3. So, first let's go over the synopsis here. On a cool June morning, a woman is walking her dog on the idyllic coastal village of Salton, along the tidal estuary known as the Reach. Before she can stop him, the dog charges into the water to retrieve what first appears to be a wayward stick, but to her horror, turns out to be something much more sinister. The next morning, 3 women in and around London, Fatima, Thea, and Isa, receive the text they have always hoped would never come from the fourth in their formerly inseparable clique, Kate, that only says, "I need you." The 4 girls were best friends at Salton, a second-rate boarding school set near the cliffs of the English Channel. Each different in their own way, the 4 became inseparable and were notorious for playing the Lion Game, telling lies at every turn to both fellow boarders and faculty. But their little game had consequences, and as the 4 converge in present-day Salton, they realized their shared past was not as safely buried as they had once hoped. So, in this book, we have our 4 women. It is told from Isa's point of view. It looks like Isa, but I think the narrator kept saying Isa. So, that's probably how it's said, But Isa goes ahead and she is a relatively new mother. Her daughter is roughly, I want to say 6 months old, I think is what they said. And she lives with her husband, Owen, down in London. And she gets the message, "I need you," from Kate. So her and her 2 other friends, Thea and Fatima all go up to Salton where Kate lives. Kate lives still in Salton. Her dad, Ambrose, had a house up there near the school. He was a faculty member at the school. So they go up there, and what it is the body is Ambrose's. And we find out through the book that the girls have hidden Ambrose's body there. And they are trying to figure out what the story is, how we need to get it all together. And we are introduced to other various characters around Salton who know these girls from when they were younger. And the truth comes out about what happened that night Ambrose died. So, let's talk what my issues were with the book, why it's a 3. It wasn't the worst, it wasn't the best. However, I was bored for most of the book. I just didn't care. I feel like it could have been shorter because for most of it they're just arguing about what to say. We don't know what's really happening with Ambrose. We don't find out until the end what happened with Ambrose. There's also all the fights that Isa has with her husband Owen over stuff. And I don't know why she just doesn't come out and tell him bits and pieces. I mean, I kind of get it. She doesn't want to lie to him. But she's also lying by omission by not telling him things. But, again, the way Kate put her friends in the middle of this with hiding her father's body so that she wouldn't get put into foster care because she was turning 16 soon. And her younger brother, it's not her biological brother, but her younger brother was put back into foster care because their dad was dead. She just waited until she was 16. She didn't wait till he was. And it's just why did you drag your friends into it, Realistically, she would have got put into foster care, but if you don't have to go into foster care if you're 16, she was turning 16 in 3 weeks, so why didn't you just say something then? It would have been 3 weeks, girl. It would have been 3 weeks. Unless they make you stay until you're 18, I don't know, but the way she was describing it, if she was 16, she wouldn't have to go into foster care, she would have been fine. So it was 3 weeks. Ow, Shelby! Why did you bite me? Shelby is down here and being a little psychopath. Why did you bite me? That was so mean. What was I saying? I'm gonna keep my hand up here so she can't bite me again. I don't get why Kate didn't just reveal what was happening. And then the turns at the end, I mean, there were some twists at the end, but again, I was bored. And I didn't care about these characters. And this isn't the first Ruth where I've read Turn of the Key, which I really liked. However, I have now since heard that is her best one, that people, general consensus, that is her best one. And I've read a few. I read the Woman in Cabin 10, and I just don't care about the characters she writes. And I think that it's not that it's a bad book. I don't care about these characters. They're not very likable. And even if your characters aren't supposed to be likable, I should still care about what's happening in the plot. But I didn't care. So that's why I've ultimately ended up on a 3 for this one. Hi friends, I am back with another finished book. I meant to update you guys before I even started the book, but I kind of just binge read it because you know what? It's actually one of my favorite books I've read so far this year. I've had a lot of mediocre books, but this one is my favorite one so far. So I just read Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste. I don't know how to say it, that last name. I'm so sorry. I'm really bad with names. Y'all know that by now, I should hope. So let me just read you the summary here. A riveting novel that traces the intertwined fates of the picture-perfect Richardson family and an enigmatic mother and daughter who upend their lives. In Shaker Heights, a placid, progressive suburb of Cleveland, everything is planned. From the layout of the winding roads to the colors of the houses to the successful lives of its residents will go on to lead. And no one embodies the spirit more than Elena Richardson, whose guiding principle is playing by the rules. Enter Mia Warren, an academic artist and single mother who arrives in this idyllic bubble with her teenage daughter Pearl and rents a house from the Richardsons. Soon Mia and Pearl become more than tenants. All four Richardson children are drawn to the mother-daughter pair. But Mia carries with her a mysterious past and a disregard for the status quo that threatens to upend this carefully ordered community. When old family friends of the Richardsons attempt to adopt a Chinese-American baby, a custody battle erupts that dramatically divides the town and puts Mia and Elena on opposite sides. Suspicious of Mia and her motives, Elena is determined to uncover the secrets in Mia's past, but her obsession will come at an unexpected and devastating cost. So, like I said, this is one of my favorite books I've read this year. Like, I mean, I've only read 7 this year, but, like, as I was saying, I was having so many, like, mediocre books, and maybe I was, like, in a thriller mindset, and then all these, like, thrillers were, like, letting me down. And I think, like, I just had to deviate away from it. So, like I said, my favorite books I've read this year, let's just put Shaker Heights is a suburb of Cleveland, like I said. It's a real suburb. I got my bachelor's degree from Cleveland State, so I did live in Cleveland for 4 years. It's opposite side of the state where I'm from and where I live now, but I did get my degree from Cleveland. So, I've actually been to Shaker Heights. I mean, it's hard not to. It's a suburb of Cleveland. So, my friends and I have gone there before, and they were referencing road names in this book. And I am the person who literally sat down and was like, I'm going to Google to make sure these roads do in fact intersect. And like the layout makes sense, which it did check out. So great. Perfect. Otherwise it was gonna be a nitpick. But like, great, you did research. Or maybe the author is from Cleveland. Pittsburgh. Okay, she's from Pittsburgh. But she grew up in Pittsburgh and Shaker Heights. Okay, that's why. I was like, so clearly some research has been done, which I very much appreciate, because nothing bothers me more than when people want to reference real life towns and then, the roads don't make sense. So I really did enjoy this. And this does cover very hard-hitting topics. And I am going to have some spoilers in here, so I'll warn you guys before I get to that part. But it does have hard topics of motherhood, and it does cover topics of abortion, and which I know can be triggering for some people. So, if that's going to trigger you, definitely don't read this book, but it does cover that stuff. So, I'm going to enter a time here, because I want to go over some spoilers for this. And if you don't want to hear the spoilers, feel free to skip ahead in time. But I need to discuss some of my thoughts. And so, like I mentioned in the summary, there is a family trying to adopt a Chinese American baby. And this baby was dropped off at a fire station, which I think is widely known, at least in the US, that you can bring your baby to a fire station if you cannot provide care for this and you just know you can't give this child a life that it deserves. And it's an option for you to go ahead. There's no charges. You can drop your baby off at a fire station, police station, and there will be no criminal charges coming for you if you do this. So this young mother goes ahead and drops her baby off at a fire station, which, I'm glad she realized that she cannot provide care for her child. She can't afford it. She can't give them the food they need. I'm glad she realized that, because it does mention in the story that she can't get the baby to latch, so she can't breastfeed, and she can't afford formula. And, she's just not working. She's barely making a minimum wage and serving jobs and stuff like that. So how are you going to support yourself, And Cleveland is, it's not like New York expensive, but Cleveland is still expensive. Okay, but here's where it is. I see both sides of the coin here. She gave her baby up, and so she went into the foster care system, and this couple who had been trying, I think it's 10 years in the book. They tried to conceive for 10 years, and she had miscarriage after miscarriage after miscarriage. And so the options were, they're IVF, and she wasn't getting pregnant, it was staying pregnant. Her body there wasn't something compatible there, So IVF is off the table, so they decided to go for adoption. which is very noble. Like, there are plenty of kids in this country that need adopted. And so the social worker calls them, says they have a baby available, and would they like to foster her? And then they do like a foster to adopt program, which my cousin did foster to adopt. So I understand like the mechanisms they're working. So they go ahead and they're going to adopt this little baby. Well, it's like 9-10 months later, the birth mother comes back into the picture and wants her child back. And I can see that, like, her wanting her child back, why people agree with her, she should have her child back. I see the other side where the couple wants to keep the baby that they're in the middle of the adoption. Like, the adoption is almost finalized. And I can see why people are supporting them. I can see why people are supporting her. Because, I mean, she did give up her baby, so you did give up all your parental rights when you did that. But I can see that now she's in a place where she is able to better take care of her baby. She has a better paying job. She can better afford stuff. I can see that. And then, again, another spoiler, I give this book 5 stars, but I really don't like how this plot line leaves with the baby going missing. So, like, the adoptive couple wins custody. They win the court case because they did go to court over this. And they get to keep the baby because she terminated her rights to her child. And now she's being adopted. So the adoption was finalized. And then the one morning, the adoptive mother wakes up and she's like, that's really weird. I haven't heard my baby cry at all. And come in, and the baby was stolen by her birth mother, and they find out she boarded a flight back to Asia. And it kind of just resolves there. Like, there's never, like, any, like, correlation. And I feel like it could have been fleshed out, like, even, like, the police contacting the police in Asia and be like, because even if she boarded a flight at 11:20, I don't think the plane would be arriving quite yet. I'm pretty sure that's like an 18-hour flight. So, I mean, yes, roughly 12 hours has passed, but I feel like the flight, we should see if the flight has landed yet, right? And they should contact police and contact the airport to see if they can hold this patient, because, I mean, it's an international flight. You got to go through customs, right? You know? And I don't like how this, like, never resolved. Like, I guess this baby was just kidnapped now. I mean, she's kidnapped by her birth mother, but, like, still, like, what the fuck? And then we're going to go off into our other couple. We're going to go into Mia and her daughter, Pearl. And so there's a dual timeline, which I love dual timelines. And Mia, when she was in school, her parents decided that being an artist was not a career option, and they were not going to pay for her school, and she was going to have to pay for her school herself. And she was going to school in New York, which, as I mentioned, New York is very expensive. I think we all know that. New York City. When I say New York, I mean New York City. And I think we all know that's very, very expensive. And so she was trying to figure out how to make ends meet to be able to afford her tuition and whatnot. And a couple approaches her to be a surrogate. And they're obviously going to pay her to be a surrogate. Which, side note, the insemination scene is a little bit weird. I mean, like, it's definitely been in, like, movies and, like, stuff before. But the whole turkey baster thing is, like, really, really weirds me out. Like, I feel like there are other options. Like, when they approached, I assumed we were going to do this through, like, a clinic. But, you know, okay. No. You're willing to pay her $10,000. Like, why don't you just go through and do this, like, officially with, like, some doctors and, like, take your wife's egg and his sperm and, you know, make an embryo. I guess they didn't want to test too big, but, like, still seems a little bit more easier. Like, instead of just repeatedly using a turkey baster until she gets pregnant. Like, that's weird. Okay, sorry. Like, let's not do some weird bathroom things. That's like the way the scene was. I was listening to this on audio, but the way the scene is described, it's like it really reminded me of, like, I've only seen, like, season 1 of The Handmaid's Tale, and it, like, really reminded me of those scenes. It reminded me of The Handmaid's Tale without the essay. So, you know, there's that. So, she ends up talking to her brother, and, you know, he says, I don't like the idea of you carrying your child and giving it up, because biologically it is her child. And it makes her start questioning. Her brother dies unexpectedly, and so she really starts questioning it, I think. And then her parents really disapprove too. And, I mean, like, what did you expect that? She has to make money somehow, since you won't pay for college just because you don't like her career choice. I feel like that's a dick move, you know? But, so she decides to go back. First of all, her parents don't let her attend her brother's funeral, which I have a big problem with. Like, y'all are complete fucking jackasses. Like, great, you don't support her art school choice. That's one thing. You don't want her to go to her brother's funeral because she's pregnant and you don't want to explain the situation. Who cares? Her brother's dead. You know, the fuck? I can't with this, okay? I can't with that viewpoint. Regardless, it did not ruin my rating, obviously. But she decides to then keep the baby. And she runs off with this. But I feel like there is some legal things. I mean, they mentioned having a contract. Whether it is a legally binding contract, you know, I don't know. With her being the surrogate, if it's legally binding. But regardless, he would have parental rights, you know? Like, it is his child. And it kind of ends the book with her giving her child Pearl the option, if she wants to go in, meet her birth parents, her birth father. So, you know, so this is going to end my spoiler section for it, because I need to get those thoughts out. So, I mentioned this a little bit in that section. I like the dual timeline. We were switching back and forth between Mia years ago when she was pregnant with Pearl, and we were going back to present day. And then we did have some other few stories thrown in there, which I think really shows some of the major issues in the U.S. with, like, sexual education and abortion rights and all of that good jazz and custody hearings. It really does cover, like, a good majority of things that are constantly happening here. So I really did enjoy it. Again, I gave it 5 stars, and I feel like I'm rambling at this point, so I'm gonna sign off here. This angle is weird, but hello. I have started and finished already Rules of Magic by Alice Hoffman, and let's just say, the only reason I picked up this book is for this vlog. It's the only reason. Like, I had no other, like, desire to read this. I had no interest in doing any of that. So I picked it up for this vlog. It's just one of those books where the whole witchy thing isn't necessarily for me. Like these types of books they're just like not my vibe. So I did give it 3 stars because I am being generous, because it is not the writing. The writing is very good. The story is there. It's just not my type of book for the most part. And I simply do not care. You know, like, I'm not, like, against witchy books, because, like, I love Harry Potter. I love Amy the Smartfan. I love other fantasy books that have magical elements. But the witch thing, just, like, is it my vibe? You know what I'm saying? It's just, you know, like, when I do readathons for, like, witchy books, it's just not my vibe to do those. And I know it's not, you know? I know it's not. So I don't want to spoil too much. I kind of was just, like, going through the motions, listening through this book. So, I mean, I didn't hate my time. I didn't love my time. I'm giving it 3 stars. Welcome back. Which book did I just read? I don't even know what the choice is. Oh my god. Okay, so the one we have just finished is November of 2017's pick, which is This Is the Story of a Happy Marriage by Anne Patchett. I am giving this one 3.5 stars. Now let me explain. When I started this book, I've been going into pretty much all these books blind.
I went to this book, and I did not know what genre it was. I very quickly figured out this is nonfiction, this is a memoir, which is completely fine. I don't have an issue with that. I've actually read quite a few of those, and I've enjoyed them. However, they are also from people, when I've read them, people I have heard of and wanted to read their books. This one, I sat there and started out and like, why the fuck do I care about this woman's life? Who cares? And I spent the first chunk of it going, who cares? But then it changed. And she told a story about her dog. And about how this trainer said, your dog can't sleep in the bed. Don't let your dog on the furniture. And she was like, no. And I can relate, because this lives on the furniture with me. This sleeps in my bed. She has a pillow on my bed. Don't you, Eleanor? That's your pillow. That's where we sleep. She sleeps under the blankets with me. You know, like we cuddle. We cuddle like this all night long. So I then, you know, this is the story that changed my mind. I was a little bit more invested in the story after this point. But that doesn't make up for like the first part of the book. And then she just kept going on and on and on about stuff. And I feel like we jumped back and forth quite a bit. But she kept going on. I could like relate to certain things. Like, she went to Catholic school. I went to public Catholic school. And what do I mean by public Catholic school? I went to a public school. However, the entire village, because I grew up in a village. We weren't a town. We're not big enough to be a town. We're a village. Was Catholic. And we had release time. And what release time is that from kindergarten through 8th grade, the school carved out a period for us to go to the church or the rectory or the parish hall. There was 3 buildings, you know, the church basement, the rectory where the priests lived, and then the parish hall where like they did admin stuff. But we went to one of these 3 locations, and we had religion class 4 days a week. The 5th day, we went to mass, and you had to participate in mass. So I kind of like understood it from that point of view. Like, okay, I can kind of relate to your Catholic school upbringing, because what I'm pretty sure what my school was doing is not completely legal. Like, you can't force people to go to religion classes, but they did. So I could kind of relate. However, for the most part, I was just like, I don't really know why I care. I mean, I started to get more invested toward the end. And then, like, I was on board with some of it, but then, you know, like, now you just, like, change your mind about that point of view, and you really didn't stick to your notion there, so kind of don't vibe with this anymore. Also, there's this big medical anomaly that happens to her husband, and I'm like, why is this not investigated more? What happened to his heart? Why did his tests be so shitty? And they're like, he's gonna be on this drug for the rest of his life, and he actually has nothing wrong with him. I, like, need that to be explained more. I need, like, a whole book on this medical inquiry. But otherwise, this one is a solid 3.5 stars from me. I didn't hate my time. I didn't love my time. I did get very intrigued by part of her life, though, and I've never read anything else by Ann Patchett. Couldn't tell you a single other book she's ever written, but I enjoyed this one. So, you know, middle of the road. Had an enjoyable time, but, like, didn't love it. You know, middle of the road.
The update, guys. I meant to tell you guys sooner, but I started the December 2017 pick, The Last Message Parish. And I wanted to tell you guys shortly after I started, like, once I got a little bit of a feel for the book. Well, I kind of just binge read the book. So, I'm done. And I'm giving it 5 stars, which I feel like is obvious since I said I binge read it. Like, if I give a binge read less than 5 stars, that's kind of weird, unless it's like a short book. But, you know, it's like 500 pages. Anyways, I really, really, really like this one. It's probably honestly gonna make... It's on the short list of books so far that I've read this year to make my short list for top 10 books of 2024, because I really did like it. And then I saw, when I was putting it on my Goodreads, I saw that there's a sequel coming out I think this year, I think is what it said. So I'm like, oh my god. Because I could definitely see how it could spin off into a sequel. But I think it also functions well as a standalone. So it could have really gone either way. But I'm kind of excited because, like, I'm hoping that this is going to answer some, like, burning questions I have about the book. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself here because I haven't even told you guys what this book is about. My ice maker is going to go off in a little bit. Ignore that. I'm warning y'all now. Oh, where is it? Okay. Let me just read you the summary. Okay, skip past the reviews. Amber Patterson is fed up. She's tired of being a nobody, a plain, invisible woman who blends into the background. She deserves more. A life of money and power like the one blonde-haired, blue-eyed goddess Daphne Parrish takes for granted. To everyone in the exclusive town of Bishop's Harbor, Connecticut, Daphne, a socialite and philanthropist, and her real estate Mongol husband Jackson are a couple straight out of a fairy tale. Amber's envy could eat her alive if she didn't have a plan. Amber uses Daphne's compassion and caring to insinuate herself into the family's life, the first step in a meticulous scheme to undermine her. Before long, Amber is Daphne's closest confidant, traveling to Europe with the Parishes and their lovely young daughters and growing closer to Jackson. But a skeleton from her past may undermine everything that Amber has worked towards, and if it is discovered, her well-laid plan may fall to pieces. And let me tell you, this was a great book, like I said. It had a lot of things that was lacking in a thriller that I was looking for, you know? It wasn't entirely there. And this one delivered so well. Like, I'm really glad we're ending the vlog with, like, a real strong, solid 5. Because I think, you know, when you end a vlog on a sad rating, it's like, oh. But we're going to end it on a strong 5-star rating. I loved it so much. And it did the thing that I like where we go back and forth between point of views. I also like the mystery intrigue that is happening where we're like teased with a little bit of Amber's backstory and her plot, her plan, her scheme. So we're trying to figure it out, and then Jackson is like a whole like mysterious character in and of himself for the first part of the book, and you like learn bits and pieces, but we really don't start to learn it until we start to get Daphne's point of view. Talking about it out loud now, this book reminded me a lot of, I know this one came out first, but it reminds me a lot of Lisa Jules. None of this is true. It has that kind of vibe to it, which I also love that book, so it makes sense that I enjoyed this book, you know? With that being said, I would like to talk about the characters a little bit, because I would like to know why Amber has decided that she deserves all these finer things in life. Like, what has made her deem herself worthy of that? Because, I mean, as we learn, like, Daphne really is, like, extremely caring, wants to help people. And Amber's just like, I want to be basically like a Beverly Hills housewife who just sits around nothing and just spends her husband's money. Which is one thing if that's what he wants, but I don't know if that's really what Jackson wants, you know. We learn a little about what Jackson wants. And, you know, I don't really think he cares whether his wife is being a philanthropist or she's just sitting around and spending his money. Well, he kind of does care about the money. Shelby, you were going to knock things over. Hello, kick it. So, I don't think Jackson really cares about what his wife is doing to an extent, as long as he's doing what he wants. I don't think he really cares too much. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? He kind of just wants to be in control. Overall, really did enjoy this book. Would highly recommend it. This is probably, like I said, it's shortlisted for top 10 books of 2024 so far. So it's the book we're gonna like end up like that's my recommendation from this video. You all need to go read this one book. That is all. See you next time.